You look beautiful.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, you
You
do.
look gorgeous.
What I need you to do is move this way. Follow my hand, Linda.
Oh,
That's
this way.
no, 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 the other way.
Okay.
There you go. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Right there. That's okay. You're centered. Okay, Representative Reynolds.
Hello, hello.
How to do?
I'm gonna turn this down. Make sure that my phone is not.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Whew, okay. And we are up now. Hey, Robert, how you doing? We're gonna come up in 20 seconds and sending love and prayers to Chapearl. She had a car accident and her grandson got a few bumps on the head, but he's back there telling everybody about the accident and she's traumatized. That's the way it is with children. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. We've got a lot going on. Boy, oh boy, every day it's something new. We have been talking about the vote. It's the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act. Many people say that this is the most consequential legislation signed in the history of the United States. It affected more people more profoundly than any other. The vote is the key to your citizenship. And so we thank God today for uh, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, for uh, Jim Farmer, for Roy Wilkins, for Clarence Mitchell Jr., for Bayard Rustin, for John Lewis, for Viola Liuzzo, for Reverend James Reed, for Jimmy Lee Jackson, for Amelia Boynton, who called Dr. King and told him to get to Selma. We need you. We need you. Cotton Reader. So many nameless, faceless people that we don't know, whose names we don't know, but whose lives made it possible for us to be able to vote. And it wasn't just black people who had the doors open to them. Behind that, you had all of this massive civil rights legislation because what had been codified in 1870 by an amendment to the Constitution, but had yet been enacted. Well, it was codified in 1965. It's been gutted over the past few years, but the fight for liberty and justice and the vote continues. And we got two of our chief advocates for that right here with us today. Attorney Linda Bernard, police commissioner out of, a civil rights lawyer out of Detroit. I'm so glad that you're with us today. And of course, we've got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, who, along with many of his colleagues, are out of the state of Texas. They're making a statement about protecting these congressional districts. I want you to go back and explain, because I don't want it to get lost on people, because now we're several days in. I want to know why you, some of your colleagues are in New York with Kathy Hochul, the governor, who is who is an ally, um, and the rest of you, some of you are still in Texas. The rest of you are in Chicago, are in Illinois. And of course, you are similarly posited with a governor, Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is an ally. You've got Governor Gavin Newsom, who is an ally. You've got a lot of people who are pulling for you because I think that gerrymandering, I must say, I don't care who it favors, it's wrong. We should just have a representative form of government. You know, our first president, George Washington, whatever you say, feel about the founding fathers, while they were human, and because they were human, they had their flaws, there were some brilliant things that they said and did. That's a fact. And to me, one of the things that I really appreciated about what he did do, Attorney Linda Bernard and State Representative Reynolds, he eschewed parties. He's the only president we've had in our history who was not a member of a political party.
It was
He
not a
said
what?
he was not a member of a political party. He said political parties can inspire despotism. They move elected officials away from moving toward the common good. They can encourage foreign influence. and foreign interference. He foresaw the issues that are bedeviling us right now in this moment. Quite frankly, I don't want a Democratic president. I don't want a Republican president. I want a president of the United States who is going to work on our behalf. That's not Pollyanna. That's the only way that I think that the Republic is going to be sustained. And so I think that I think it's fair to say, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, that while the Democrats are particularly aggrieved, I get the sense from you and from your colleagues that you're really concerned about the process because this is very odd to have congressional districts redrawn in between censuses, is it not?
That's right. That's right.
First of all, may I ask Ron a question? Are you in Chicago now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. First of all, Santita, as always, it is great to be on with you on your show. I'm honored. I'm truly blessed to celebrate this 60th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, but for which I wouldn't be here today as a state representative and the first African American state representative in Fort Bend County since Reconstruction. If it wasn't for the Voting Rights Act, there would still be in place whites only primaries in the county that I now have the pleasure of serving. If it wasn't for the Voting Rights Act, there would still be poll taxes and literacy tests. There would still be silly things like guessing how many bubbles in the bar of soap, things that prohibited Black people from voting in this country. And so I stand on the shoulders of your father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and John Lewis, and Dr. Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, many freedom soldiers who you name, James Farmer, Bayard Rustin, and many others, A. Philip Randolph, so many to name. But and then people whose name were never in the history books that were brave and willing to risk their lives on freedom rides and sit-ins and lunch counters to defy the Jim Crow that was the day of the land. So I am so thankful for that. And my colleagues and I, in the spirit of that good trouble, we defied the Texas legislature by breaking quorum because President Trump and Governor Abbott wanted to racially gerrymander 5 congressional seats in Texas that would disenfranchise specifically Black and brown neighborhoods and communities of interest. And we had no choice but to either surrender or fight by breaking quorum. We chose to fight by breaking quorum. That means to deny them enough people present so that business could not be conducted and they could not pass this piece of legislation that would literally set back the number of congressional representatives representing the great state of Texas. And I want to say, for the record, for those who may not be aware, because a lot of people are always amazed when I say this, there are more African Americans by the 2020 census in Texas than any other state in the country. We should have more African American representation, not less. But what this bill does,
So you have more Black people
more Black
than
people,
Mississippi,
all of them.
Tennessee.
All of them. That's right. That's all of them. But they have gerrymandered the state already to dilute the strength, the voting strength of African Americans so that we have smaller representation. And with this proposed bill, we would have a reduction of 50%. That means that they would cut our representation in half. So instead of having 4 African American congressmen, we would have 2 because they would cut out 1 in Houston, represented by Congressman Al Green, and the other seat that was occupied by most recently Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner, and in Dallas with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and Congressman Mark Vesey. Those there would be 1 in Houston that would be paired, those 2, and 1 in Dallas that would be paired, so that we would have 2 African American opportunity seats and not 4. So I'm here today to say that we are on the right side of history. We're standing in solidarity and an act of defiance, risking our livelihoods, risking our freedom because the governor has made it clear that we will be arrested. The attorney general has said he would hunt us down. And now President Trump has said that he would allow the Justice Department to intervene. That means that the FBI and the Department of Justice would be able to apprehend us, arrest us, and take us back to Texas. So the stakes couldn't be higher, but we're standing strong and we're continuing to appreciate the solidarity that we've received from Governor Pritzker in Illinois and governor in New York and California and other states. So we're sounding the alarm bell that we need to fight back. And people across the country are sick and tired of Democrats being weak and timid and playing by the original rules of engagement when President Trump and his MAGA allies have flipped the script and changed the rules of engagement to even do this mid-decade redistricting, which is rare because for the viewers and the listeners, the only time that we generally do redistricting is every 10 years after we get the census, so that there's reapportion for population shifts. That is the normal course of redistricting every 10 years. So the next redistricting was not supposed to happen until after the 2030 census, and you get the 2030 census numbers. Like the last redistricting was after 2020, and before that it was after 2010. So just to put in perspective, this is irregular. This is abnormal. This is the new normal that President Trump is creating to rig the system so that he can choose the voters and not allow the voters to choose their congresspersons. So that is undemocratic. And this is an affront to our Black and brown communities that the Voting Rights Act was designed to protect, Santita.
Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, let me ask you, would they have, who would be running against a Jasmine Crockett or Mark Vesey or an Al Green?
Well, they paired them, so they would have to run against each other. In other words, Al Green's house. Okay.
Say that one more time.
Okay. Okay. So the way it would work right now under this proposed racial gerrymander, Al Green's district has been moved. The 9th congressional district under this current map is a new district. It is a Republican district. When we look at the voter history, it is a strong Republican district. Al Green and his house is now in the 18th congressional district. So if Al Green was to run for re-election, he would now run in the 18th with whoever is the winner of the special election for the 18th. So you would have two people from the 9th and the 18th now running for the same seat. As you would in Dallas, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett was drawn out of the 30th congressional district into the 33rd, where Mark Vesey is. Mark Vesey's current 33rd district is now a Republican district. So he would have to run in the 30th. This is what we're looking at, everyone. We're talking about not addition, but subtraction. So it's simple math. They want to reduce African-American representation by 50% under this proposed map.
900,000 Black and brown people are unregistered to vote in Texas. You know, Reverend Jesse Jackson says, you don't fight fire with fire, you fight it with water. Is that the water you need? Because maybe is this a time when people are looking to, you know what, we need to really get registered to vote and really make a political move in that way. And we saw it with Reverend Jackson's campaign. I remember in 1983, before he launched the first campaign, Linda remembers it well. She was one of the organizers of it. It was the title of the Time magazine cover story. Representative Reynolds was "The New Black Power." What Reverend had done, he had started the largest voter registration campaign in the history of the United States, and now he has still registered more people to vote than any other American in the history of the Republic. And registering 2.5 to 3 million people just in that 18-month, 2-year period was a shock to the system. And then registering 5, 6, 7 million more. it's like, because, and that's the thing that people miss about Bernie Sanders. He's not a campaign, he's a movement. And see, to me, what you all are doing, you're not campaigning. And Linda, can chime in after I hear from you. This is not a campaign to me. From what you're telling me, this is a movement. This is because let's practically speaking, you don't have the numbers,
No,
but you now you have stirred up the conversation. Now you've got Gavin Newsom. What has come about as a result of the stirring of this conversation? Because you did this in 2021. That's when I met you.
that's right. That's right. So for those who don't know, in 2021, the last time we did redistricting, Santita was kind enough to allow me on her show and the Reverend Jesse Jackson show to give a platform to educate people why we fled Texas to go to DC, advocating for passage of the John Lewis Federal Voting Rights Act to basically be able to get, for those who don't know, the Supreme Court struck down Section 2, a critical provision in Section 2 that would put states like Texas under preclearance. So that if they made changes to voting, they would have to get approval from the Department of Justice or a higher court. Well, the Supreme Court gutted that key provision. And so we were in Texas, we were in DC advocating with our colleagues. We broke quorum then because they were trying to pass a voter suppression law that ended souls to the polls, that reduced the hours of voting, that limited voting, made it very restrictive because the Republicans, instead of making voting easier, more accessible, they try to make it more difficult. Like we had one of the most strictest voter ID laws in the country. So we were there for that. We didn't get that bill passed, and that is why Texas is able to do what it's doing now, quite frankly. But what the bottom line is this: is that by us going and fighting this fight, we've awakened other states and other governors to say, "Hey, guess what? Governor Newsom, if they're doing it in Texas and you're not doing it in California, we're at a significant disadvantage because we're playing by a traditional playbook." Well, President Trump has remixed it. He is like a track meet where you have 100-meter dash, and President Trump said, "No, no, no, I'm starting at the 50-yard line, and you start at the beginning." We're like, "Wait a minute, you'll never win that race if you have a 50-yard head start on me, or you're in a boxing match and I have one hand tied behind my back and you have two." That's the rules of engagement that President Trump is operating under. So we're saying, hey, Governor Newsom, Governor Pritzker, Governor Holcomb, we got to play by the same rules. We got to not allow them to bring, not where we keep bringing knives to gunfights and we keep getting slaughtered because we're playing by the rules, being the nice guys, and they're rolling over us, and our constituents are the ones that are suffering because these aren't our seats, Santita. These seats belong to the people. So the people are the ones that are harmed because we're the ones that are advocating for our constituents. We're the ones saying we need health care, we need jobs, we need great public schools and a livable wage and climate. Those are the things that we're there for as their representatives. So when they do these attacks on us, by extension, they're really doing the attacks on our communities that we serve. Our forefathers fought so hard so we can have a seat at the table, and they're trying to take it back and erase the gains, the small gains that we've made. They're trying to turn back the clock. So we have sounded the alarm bells to other states, and now it's exciting to see other states say, you know what, we're going to fight back too. We're going to be engaged. We're not going to keep allowing President Trump to bully us. We're going to stand up to this authoritarian fascist bully that wants to intimidate and rule as a king and not in a tyrant and not throughout a democracy in a democratic process. So that is what we've attempted to do by this act of good trouble and breaking quorum. And we have flew delegations to meet directly with these governors, and it's had some success. We're seeing California, New York, and other states saying, you know what, we're going to do this. If it's good for the goose, then it's good for the gander.
Well, because indeed, Republicans actually do have campaigns afoot, Attorney Bernard, to go to other states. I mean, they're clearly this is a plan that's been in the works. We've had David Daley, the New York Times bestselling author, the senior fellow at Fair Vote, talking about, as he outlined in his book, Rat Eft, Why Your Vote Doesn't Count, Unrigged, How Americans Are Battling Back to Save Democracy and Anti-Democratic, the 50-year plan to overtake the Supreme Court. Those are his 3 books. He's been talking to us about the plans that the right wing have put in place. They said in 2008, you can have the presidency. You got Barack Obama, good for you. We're going to take over the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate, counties, states. They really focused on the states, and those 1,000+ seats that the Democrats lost during the Obama years, we're seeing the impact of that now. When you think of voting rights, Attorney Bernard, which is something that people fight, we're continuing to fight for that. What is the impact of the Voting Rights Act, and is it relevant today?
It's relevant today, as Representative Reynolds already pointed out. The provisions that he wanted, or that were optimized to make the act more effective, were defeated by the United States Congress. But this issue, because I think of technology now and television. Of course, we had television then, but it wasn't the same as it is now, where it's 24 hours a day sort of news. And what has happened in Texas has I think shocked the country, with the legislators leaving on a private jet, flying to Illinois, which is a sanctuary state, being hosted by Governor Pritzker, and not doing what. And this is because you're not there; you can't do your job in the Texas legislature. It unfortunately, and I understand what you're saying, and it's troubling to me because I haven't heard it expressed like you expressed it here today before. And essentially, you're in danger of losing 2 Black congresspeople, as I understand it, and they would only out of the 4 that you have.
That's correct.
So that's an issue. Okay. If we flipped it, if women were in danger of losing 2 women out of 4, would them not coming to work justify that and leaving the state? Or if Chinese Mexicans.
So, but let me ask you: do you think this?
Wait a minute. I'm just saying, when you reduce this to the lowest common denominator,
right,
so that ordinary people understand what's going on, it's not adding up for the community.
That's
what I want to understand.
That's for some segments, and for people in your space who don't understand, I do want Representative Reynolds to explain, because to me this is part of the work. I can laugh about it now because my parents have been together 64 years.
Hey.
When my father was moving into civil rights work, my grandmother, who worked at the VA hospital, she was in food services, and my grandfather, who was a postal worker, they wanted to know, well, what does he do? Is he going to get a job? Jackie, that was
walked out on their job.
Well,
they walked out on their job,
and that's why I'm thinking that this is part of the job, because it's more than just going to your office. To me, because I've had 2 brothers in Congress, and I see what my father has done, and it's just like even doing this show. For every hour that I'm on the air, I'm reading about 6 or 7 hours. I never get a break, right? I mean, because that's just the nature of it. But why don't you explain to Linda? Because I think flying on a private plane, that's not how I viewed it. I viewed you running away, breaking. I didn't see you running away. I saw you breaking a quorum, because I saw you're not supposed to. Just traditionally, you don't have a mid census.
That's right.
A mid-decade redrawing of the lines. They're playing a game here, and if a Democrat were in in the presidency. I wouldn't like it. This is just not how you don't do this. And they're doing this to me. It's a power grab. And they're not planning. They're not just going to stop in Texas. I mean, Representative Reynolds,
But
please.
but as I understand it, the arrest warrants, I don't know. I haven't seen them, haven't had time to research this or read. Okay. I don't, I understand there's been tremendous pushback with respect to what you're doing, and that frankly, you're facing an arrest, i.e., booking, handcuffs, and jail, which is a problem that is disturbing to me because, as most people believe, that when you're paid to do a job, you do the job. And the people have spoken by electing you to do the job that you're supposed to do, which is be in Congress, which is be
Will be in the state legislature.
yeah. I mean the same thing in the for the state of Texas, and so you're still getting paid as a legislator, but you took a private luxury jet to Chicago, staying in luxury suites, hanging out. This is the spin, not me. I'm interested in what you're saying. I'm truly interested because, and they've also pointed to, I think it was another Texas legislator, somebody, or Illinois, it's either one of those two states, where somebody did this before, another legislator, and they arrested him, brought him back to the legislature. I mean, there is legal precedent against what you're doing that I think can hurt you personally and professionally.
Linda, let me say this.
But help me.
Let me respond if I could, Santita. First of all, just like I remember when I was in DC and I was protesting with members in front of the U.S. Supreme Court when we were ordered to leave or else we would be arrested. It was an act of civil disobedience. I knew and I took the risk and I was arrested along with Congressman Al Green when we were advocating for passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It is nothing different than, Martin Luther King and John Lewis of others being
If
arrested.
I may interrupt you, it is different because you flew on a luxury jet.
No. Let me finish.
To another state, and you're staying. You're being wine, dined, and fed.
But no, but
that's called a bribe.
I heard you out. I heard you out, and I was respectful, and I listened to you. And I want to be able to respond, and then we can have a civil discourse. But what I'm trying to tell you is, we understand it's an act of civil disobedience. Okay, so that we're establishing that. That's the first thing. Okay, the second thing, is that we knew that, and the only way that we would be able to leave successfully was if we did it through a private means. In other words, if we booked a commercial flight on a public airline and had all of our information there, we would not have been able to leave successfully without being stopped. So we knew it was a strategic move to move in silence. And so you're criticizing us for doing something that we had to do in order to do it successfully. Finally, I would say that we are doing everything we can, and we're sacrificing, Linda. I mean, we're here. We're here. We're not getting. First of all, I want to say this real quick, Santita. Okay. My constituents, I've received thousands of letters of support from my constituents and others saying, hey, keep doing what you're doing. So I believe that I am doing the right thing by my constituents. So if I'm not, guess what, Linda? They can get rid of me. They can vote me out of office. That's the great thing about our democracy. But my constituents are saying, we are behind you. And finally, I'll tell you this, is that we believe that history would judge us well. It's easy to criticize people. Oh, how dare them? They broke the law, and John Lewis went to jail, or Martin Luther King went to jail because they violated a civil order of trespassing because they told them they couldn't march or protest. Sometimes, Linda, you have to get in good trouble, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to stop for a greater good. We're doing this for the greater good. None of us are excited to be away from our families, our kids, our livelihoods. We're losing money, Linda, by being here. We make $600 a month. That's how much we make from the legislative salary. So if they want to take that salary, come on, Linda, that's not even making a difference. But
No.
we have incomes that we can't even do because of the sacrifice that we're making. So don't make it seem like we're on a vacation at some luxury hotel living the life when most of us would rather be with our families doing our normal course of business, but we are choosing to fight and stand on the right side of principle and not allow them to ram this racial gerrymandering down our constituents' throats.
I understand that. I'm just talking about the perception.
I understand.
I mean, you're right. Dr. King and Reverend Jackson went to jail. They didn't go to a 5-star hotel as part of their protest.
Well, no, wait.
Did they?
When Dr. King, no, when Dr. King um, went into Washington for the March on Washington, he was in a luxury hotel.
But he wasn't abandoning his job or leaving his responsibility. I mean, really, this is how people look at it. You agree with that?
No, I don't.
If I'm a judge and I decide to leave the
Let me
convention and go somewhere because I'm in protest.
Let me give you this. Let me give you this. Mayor Jane Byrne from Chicago in 1982, things got so bad in the housing projects of Chicago, Representative Reynolds and Attorney Bernard. She said she was going to move in from the Gold Coast to the Soul Coast, just a few minutes away.
That's your daddy.
No. That's what she did, right? And so, and she went to Sears and Roebuck, which was still around at that time, and she wanted to teach these mothers, many of whom were on public assistance, how to furnish their apartments. It was hearing her say this was so crazy. Wait a minute, wait. Well, what was even crazier was to hear people call into radio shows asking my father to move us and to move his family. Well, when is Reverend Jackson going to move into the project? To prove his movement bona fides. At Push that Saturday, and you used to drive him from Detroit all the time, he said, I'm not going to move my wife and children into Cabrini Green. That's not going to happen. He said, I promised you to get you out of poverty. I didn't promise you that I would go and get in poverty myself. Been there, done that. I think if they never would have made it through TSA, Linda, you're a police commissioner. When you are running away, because that is an act of civil disobedience, it is an act of protest. So, I mean, because I feel like I'm hearing these right-wing talking points, which is cool, that's fine, because guess what? He's up against a governor who's saying just this.
Yep.
I mean, and the fact is, he's breaking all kinds of protocols by having a mid-decade redrawing of the district lines. He's not doing it to get people better representation. He's doing it to get more votes so they can cut more programs in Washington. That's all that this is. We've already cut $1 trillion from healthcare. They've already put a backdoor proviso in the big beautiful bill for Social Security. They're about to privatize it, which means they're going to take all of our Social Security money and they're going to gamble it on Wall Street. Ain't nobody going to have no Social Security. So, I mean, that might be the perception in some quarters, but a lot of people I've talked to, Linda, are saying, run, Democrats, run. Now, where I peel off with everybody is that I want gerrymandering to stop. I think that it is dangerous to favor one side or another. That to me is dangerous. And, I think that what we have to get to do, number one, you're supposed to have more members in the House of Representatives anyway. It's supposed to change. I mean, according to our Constitution, it's
been used by our party it's been used by the Democrats in several states.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Illinois. I mean, it's not new.
And in Illinois, David Daley pointed that out on my show this morning and on CNN this morning. So he said it's kind of rich that he's doing this because you got like 52% Democrats in the state of Illinois and like 47% Republicans. But they have 82% of the 82% of the representatives. That's not fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. But what we're talking about right now is Texas and what they're doing in Texas and what they're planning to do in Ohio and in these other countries, in these other states. I don't know. It feels like we're going into different countries. I think this is very, very dangerous. And the thing is, it's not like the people are going to benefit. These are people who side with the oligarchs. They're not trying to help anybody. I'm sorry. I think that there comes a time. Dr. King said that it's always right to do the right thing, and you have an obligation to disobey an unjust law. It was lawful for us to be in slavery. And we had every right to walk away, to run away, even though they came up with a scientific term that said that we were clinically insane if we ran away. It was called drapetomania. Drapetomania is a psychological condition. It's a sickness if you want to leave slavery.
And it was illegal to run away.
It's illegal. And I think break that law, break it. And this, because we could lose Jasmine Crockett, we could lose Al Green for what? Your point is what? Not yours, but it's like this is the same governor who would not give the Guadalupe River community $1 million to come up with to install an emergency system to inform people that a flood was coming. Look at all those people who died over the 4th of July weekend.
That was a mistake, a major mistake.
And
Texas is addressing it aggressively now.
Are you?
And I think they're going to be the model for the country. Yeah, they are.
Ron, you tell me.
You guys are doing a good job.
What is the question?
Are you all addressing what happened in the Guadalupe River? Because this was actually what this was supposed to be about.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
Special session. And then what happened?
So for those who don't know, we in this state, the governor has enormous powers when it comes to a disaster through executive order to be able to make a declaration, it was a disaster declaration. So the governor's powers of emergency abilities is able to be implemented. So he doesn't need us to do anything, quite frankly. The only thing the governor needs us to do is to pass legislation in terms of bills that would require certain things. But in terms of financial assistance, in terms of other things for those families, the governor can do that now. The governor has chosen not to do it because he wants to hold that hostage to get us to do the redistricting first. That's the priority. They had hardly any hearings on the Kerr County flooding, and my heart goes out to those families, the people who lost loved ones. But that wasn't the priority. The priority, Linda, and everyone listening, has been redistricting. That's been the priority for the governor, and that to me is a misplaced priority. We sent a letter to the speaker saying we should be dealing with this first. They ignored it. And so we said, okay, well, that's what you do.
But you know what? I'm glad we're having this part of the conversation because people need to understand the fight that's going on inside of the state legislature. Because this is, you're going back to deal with Guadalupe. This river rose 26 feet. And people didn't have to die, but they weren't even warned. And then you get there and then you find out, oh, no. It's like this is, whack-a-mole. You looked up and you're like, wait a minute. So we're here while we're supposed to be voting on this to get these monies to deal with our infrastructure issue. You mean to tell me you really brought us here?
But wouldn't that have been a better thing to walk out on? than the redistricting and say, well, we're going to lose two people from Congress, or we're going to get two people for Congress that we may not like or don't look like us? Wouldn't it have been better to carry that flag, i.e., we have got to get this money to these people and to this community and the safety features in place? That would be something that everybody would buy in on. But redistricting is something, one, they don't understand.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here to help.
But also also too, they don't understand why you go to DC and hang out in DC. I mean, not DC, in Chicago to deal with it. It doesn't meet the smell test.
But you know,
that's
it
the
does.
problem with it.
You have to go where you will have. You have to go where you will have allies. They couldn't go to Mississippi. They would get arrested.
Easy.
Because you have a governor who's hostile. You have to go where your allies are.
That's true. That's true.
You have to go, and if your ally has a plane, they give you the plane and say, "Get on here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." I have flown privately, and one or two people that we were on this trip with. It's happened more than once. You kind of get stuck, and you're like, "Oh no, jump on this plane with us. We'll move on over. Come on." I mean, that's just the way it works, right? I mean, it's just like riding in a car, except it's a plane. But they had. It was a game of inches, because when they saw what the governor was up to, they had to get out of there. Otherwise, they would have been confined to the state.
I don't like the idea, Ron, of you being arrested or anyone else, processed, obviously probably being released on a personal bond, hiring a lawyer or lawyers, and then trying to move forward with this because it's not a black and white issue. I mean, I don't mean it's not a black people issue. It's not a clear issue that the community can identify with in terms of what you're seeking. As you pointed out, it wasn't for the river, it wasn't for the vote, none of that. It's to preserve two people, one of whom I like very much. I don't know Jasmine, but I like your other congressman very.
Al Green.
Yeah, Al Green. I was going to say Al Green. Yeah, I always identify him with the singer. Very much. We sat together for 3 hours at Rainbow Push. So I remember him
last year. That's right.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. He and I sat on the front row together.
Oh no, yeah, he was right there on the front row. But Linda, I respect the differences. That's the great thing about being able to have a conversation, right? Where I don't expect us to agree on everything, but we're having civil discourse, and I can learn some things from you, or perhaps you can learn some things from me. But that's what great debate and dialogue is about. And so we're not demonize one another. I mean, you have your opinion, I have mine.
I don't have an opinion on this, really.
Well, I mean, a perspective. You were giving your perspective earlier. I mean, opinion, perspective, but a personal point of view. So the point I'm making is, ultimately, there is not necessarily a right or wrong. It's a matter of opinion or perspective, and people have a right to weigh in on either side, and then they can decide which one they agree with or don't agree with.
Let me interrupt you.
But I don't want you to expose the potential liability. That's why I'm on another side of it. You're a great guy.
Let me tell you, I lost a radio show. Or should I say, I was not a radio show, because I own my show. I was pulled off the station, and many people speculated it was because of my stance on Gaza.
Really?
Now that's a big hit that I took financially, and it could have been a big hit reputationally. But when I told my parents about it, we had just gone downtown to the ceasefire vote, and the mayor had just broken the tie, and in Chicago decided to support a call for a ceasefire. And when I told my parents what had happened, they were like, whoa, you knew this all morning, you didn't say anything? I was like, no, let's one thing at a time. And my father turned to me and he said, jobs come and go. He said, go out a hero.
Oh, I agree with that now too.
So I mean, so my thing is, look,
And Ron can do that.
and that's what he is doing to me, because to sit there
Because
no. Now we are talking about gerrymandering.
That's right.
Now we're talking about redistricting. Now we're talking about fair process, because Linda, you know
he's
that
not
when you,
tarnished,
no,
Santita,
no,
by the
Linda,
actions
Linda.
of Crockett
I've been arrested. I'm all right
and
with
Green.
that. I
I'm
was
not talking about
arrested.
the rest, but
No,
you're
no, I
not
was
tarnished.
arrested at the South African embassy. What I'm
I
saying
know
to
that.
you is, and what I'm saying to you when I was in college, what I'm saying to you is, it's all right. To me, what I'm looking at, and I just have to say this, Ron, there's some things that you've got to take a stand on,
That's right.
because what's happening here, what they're doing here is so dangerous to the democracy. I mean, to the republic and to the democratic process, because you're not supposed to have, you don't just willy-nilly redraw a district because the White House said that I need, like he's like when President Trump was calling to get votes in Florida, just give me 3 more Congress people. That's not the way you do this.
I agree.
And if it were Obama, I would be like, no, you're out of order for that. You're wrong for that. You don't do that. You don't do this kind of grab, because you know what? At the end of the day, we're going to see it all after November 2026, because that's when these cuts are going to kick in.
That's correct.
That's what's happening. Because Linda,
I know.
Sheila Jackson Lee, who you knew, she passed away last July.
She's been to
Then
Detroit many times.
Then you got Sylvester. Then you got her daughter, who held the seat. Then Sylvester Turner, the former mayor of Houston, got the seat. He died 2 months later, the night of the State of the Union address.
Oh.
That was March. He should have had an election 4 weeks later. You know when the governor decided to have the election? He hasn't had it yet. He's going to have it in November. These people will be without a seat for 9 months.
They did that in Michigan with John Conyers. They don't have to do it until the next scheduled election. They're supposed to, but they don't.
No, but I'm saying, but they should, and that's wrong.
You are unrepresented. That's a fact.
Because we have 4 Democrats who are in that position. We have 4 open seats in the House of Representatives. 4 seats. Those are 4 voices who we could have used while they were gutting the social safety net.
That's right.
What 4 seats? If you don't mind me asking.
I can't remember. I had David Daley on this morning.
They're different. Okay, so there are 4 open seats in Congress.
4 open seats in Congress. 4 seats that 4 people, 4 seats that are without a representative, including Sheila Jackson Lee's
That's right.
Turner seat.
Well, that's outrageous.
It is outrageous. There's 4 seats. And I don't care if they were Republican seats. It's outrageous. You know what? If I have a Republican representative, he's not a Republican to me. You represent me.
Correct.
So so I need you to do X, Y, and Z. That's all. That's all. So I'm just saying.
You're right. The governor could have held a special election,
and
he chose not to.
The governor is a billionaire, or he has resources to get them. Y'all want to come to Illinois? I'll get a plane for you. Either it's his plane or someone he knows. That's the way that works. And that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to. To me, that's what you're supposed to do.
Santita, I got to sign off. Speaking of lawyers, we have to meet with our lawyer with all these different challenges that are surrounding us.
Listen to him or her.
Yeah, that's why I got to go.
But I'm sending you much love. But what do you want us to know?
Thank you, Santita. And
what do you want us to know?
Sure. I'll say this. What I want you to know is that the power rests in the people. And I hope that the American people who are listening as we commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act will never take their vote for granted. Your vote was a precious fundamental right that it was earned through sacrifice of our forefathers who made tremendous sacrifices so that we would have this right. Don't take that right for granted. Don't sit on your behind and complain about what's wrong when you have an opportunity to weigh in and elect people that align with your values. So use that precious power of the vote. The vote is the great equalizer. You have the same vote as a billionaire has. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 woman, 1 vote. 1 vote can make a difference in an election. So let that be the catalyst. Let this be a reminder that elections matter, that we can control our own destiny through the power of voting, And if you don't like the way things are being ran right now, then you have the power to fire the people that are there representing your interests, even if they are Democrat or Republican or whatever they are. You have the power. Use that power and use it well. And so, Santita, that's what I hope that people will remember, that never ever sit an election out, never say your vote doesn't matter. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe, well, what does it matter? They're all the same anyway. Well, we're seeing that they're not all the same. So please exercise your right to vote. I look forward to continuing to stay plugged in with you and your viewers. And certainly, this is a marathon, not a sprint. But as Dr. King once stated, that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So let's continue to not be weary in well doing, and let's fight the good fight, and let's not throw in the towel, because the only way that we fail is if we quit.
And what? Get into what? Good
Good
what?
trouble, necessary trouble.
That's right.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
All
That's
right, y'all have a blessed day.
much love to you.
Ron, good luck.
You know what? Because Attorney Bernard, every time my father would get arrested, sometimes one or two people would be, um, they would ask at schools, so what is your father doing? Well, now I'm so grateful. It's not that I wasn't grateful then, but I knew, fortunately, I had parents who explained what he was doing, right? And for me, it is necessary when you're supposed to break an unjust law. Gandhi was supposed to do that. Dr. King was supposed to do that. The people at the Woolworth lunch counters, they were supposed to do that. My father was supposed to do that at the Greenville Public Library that he could not use when he was coming home from the University of Illinois in 1959 in college. He was supposed to break that law. And to me, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to sit in. You're supposed to make that which is wrong right. And I hear you. But look, I'd rather be arrested doing the right thing than sit out and watch wrong just continue to go on. I don't want to do that.
I agree with you.
Oh, I know you do. And I know you get me out of jail.
I do, but I'm worried about Ron. I think he's a very, very bright rising star. He's got good sense. He's a good communicator. He's smart, and he does research. He's researched several times that I've been on this show with him. Mm-hmm. And I don't want his reputation, his honor, his credibility questioned or challenged as a result of this. I mean, Crockett has already been herself to the she's already doing her own thing, and he doesn't use the F word, and he doesn't dance in the corridors of Congress. He doesn't do any of the things that obviously that have caused so much attention to come to her, or dance to what's his name, Lamar. Not Cedric Lamar, the guy that was saying
Kendrick Lamar.
I mean, this brother is substantive, I think, and I think he has tremendous potential to lead our community.
I think Jasmine is too. She just has a style that doesn't jive with yours, and I appreciate.
Well, it's not a style issue. Vulgarity never has a place in public speech. I mean, it's beyond style. It's and it just doesn't make any sense. It can only hurt you. It doesn't help you. But we'll see how it all works out. But I'm glad you had him on, and thank you. And I appreciate what he said. He enlightened me a great deal, and I'm sure the whole audience.
Well, I'm glad. And I'm glad that you had a counterpoint, because that allows him to flex a muscle that he needs to flex. Because when he gets out here and encounters people who do not agree with what he's doing, you gave him a little bit of something that you want, and I appreciate that. But I love you. Much love to you, Attorney.
I love you, and thank you for inviting me today.
Always. Very quickly. What say you about the Voting Rights Act today?
About the who?
The Voting Rights Act.
Oh, the Voting Rights Act is a critical piece of legislation. Both my parents are from Mississippi. I understand it very, very well. I think that I do think, now this you might not agree with, it's been critical for people of color in this country and women, quite frankly. But I do believe that you should be a United States citizen to vote. So to the extent that
No, I
there's,
agree with that. I mean, what?
oh, okay, well, good, because I know a lot of people that don't. And actually, they always say they're Democrats, which makes no sense.
No.
But because democracy means citizenship to me. But in any event, and I want to, congratulate you on raising the issue and letting all of us know in this country that that this is happening, that this is the day, the anniversary, and I appreciate that. You've raised my consciousness, and obviously my loyalty, of course, to your father and all of the men and women who were involved in the civil rights movement to this day and continue to be. So thank you, Santita. It hasn't been on the air anywhere else that I've seen today on any national or local station, because we had a primary election yesterday. So there's nothing about the Voting Rights Act anywhere that I'm aware of in Michigan. So I'm very happy that you raised it and you raised my consciousness. Thank you, my sister.
Well, you know what? We have to do that. And even if other people don't recognize it, I do, because I know what it means to me. In the next hour, before as you go and deal with police business and you're running for office, of course, I wish you well. I support you. We're going to be talking about 300,000 Black women who've lost their jobs over the past couple of months.
300,000?
300,000. We are
not 30,000. You're saying
300,000.
300,000?
300,000. We're going to be talking about that. Black women.
What do they do? I'm sorry, just what was the job?
A lot of our work is in the public sector, and we have been put out of our jobs.
Okay, where are the unions?
I don't know, but I want to know.
Nobody. Your father loves the unions tremendously.
I love the unions too. That having been said, in a single quarter, 300,000. But these are the Doge cuts. Okay. This is what you see.
Well, I'm sorry that it affected Black women, but I definitely believe that the government could be significantly downsized. Cost too much money.
It can, but what you do in a civilized society, when I was in Denmark, when I was 14 and 15, what you do is you re-educate people. You have a system where people can be re-educated. What we do is throw people away. That's not right.
No, I agree.
While you have people in this world, while we have 8 billion people on the planet. You've got people like Bill Gates and the King of England and his son who say that we need to have 2 billion people on Earth. I'm like, what are y'all trying to do here? So what is this?
But beyond that, without the workforce and everything, we're going to have to re-engineer all of society, Santita, because of AI. I mean, everybody's, But
I said, let's do that.
Yeah, we got to do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Like we had the Industrial Revolution, we're having this revolution too. The challenge is right now, as we have this AI revolution, this technological revolution, don't leave people out. Put people in. And that's what we have to do.
Would pay Americans just to be Americans.
I'll take a check. That's what we need to do is we have to make sure that every human being's potential can be actualized. That's God's way. So I've got to run.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Black women have lost their jobs. Let's talk about it on the Santita.
I really want to hear about it. Okay. Bye-bye.
AM 950 Radio.